This podcast is brought to you by the Anime Addicts community. Hey, all you addicts, we just lost our Amazon affiliate sponsorship, so if you want to help out the podcast, this would be a very fortuitous time. You can go to AAApodcast.com/join our Patreon. I'm pretty sure nobody gives you as much extra content anywhere than we do. I mean, you're at like 1,000 episodes at your fingertips for only $7, which is our highest tier. If you want to help out the podcast, get all that extra content, AAApodcast.com/join or Patreon, and I promise you'll never be bored at work. And now it's time to start the show.
Get ready! You're about to listen to the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. Make your anime addiction worse at AAApodcast.com. And now, here are your anime addicts.
Hello and welcome into episode 685 of the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast, where our sole mission is to make your anime addiction worse. That's right. And I am your host, Mitsugi, and I am joined here with a peach Monster Energy with gin added to it.
Wow.
It's quite delicious. I am very happy to be here with you guys today. I am recovering from some pretty intense sunburns from some exciting outdoor activities, which you can hear about on our extra content. But for now, I am joined by the full boat, the gang, Caroline. She's in a flash flood. She's in a rowboat. How are you doing?
Yes, I am definitely currently in a rowboat, just paddling along. Please help me. Nope, I am in my room, but we do have quite a few thunderstorms in our forecasts and have had quite a few thunderstorms in our forecast for weeks. So, yeah, we're in the middle of one of those at the moment. Hopefully it doesn't get too loud in my recordings, but I think we're okay at the moment.
We also have Mason. He is not currently flash flooding, but he can see the wave coming down the street.
Yeah, it's coming. It's almost upon me. And I also got sunburnt. I went outside and the sun just started yelling insults at me, criticizing my sense of style, my anime opinions, and I was
sick
so burnt.
Sick burn.
So roasted.
Damn. Well, anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching us live on Twitch. Sundays at 5 p.m. Eastern. So check us out, twitch.tv/AAA podcast. Also, we're on TikTok, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. It's official. We have covered all the bases. We're also on Discord. We would love you to join the Discord. We are very nice. It's a pretty nice community on the Discord, considering its size. AAA Discord, AAAdiscord.com. Really easy to remember. We want you guys over there for free, and it's just more free shit we give. Some podcasts don't even let you on their Discord unless you pay the money, and that's pretty common. Right? So we're like, here's 8 exclusive episodes. Oh, and by the way, the Discord's free as well. So it's just giving it away, people. It's fucking crazy. Yeah. Also, if you want to head up our merch store, I saw somebody bought some Acolyte and Mitsugi t-shirts this week. That was pretty fun. So AAAshop.info. Now that's out of the way, the waifu war. It rages. The rage. So angry. We were in the final four now. The final four of the waifu war is Ai Hayasaka from Kaguya-sama Love is War, who stunned the world by eliminating Hodo by a score of 53% to 47% in the Elite Eight. So Ai Hayasaka is number one. Rios Gremory falls to Rem. Rios Gremory from High School DxD, a heavyweight, both in stature, both in popularity and in the bra. Falls to Rem, who is a heavyweight, but certainly not in the bra, because I don't think there's anything there. After seeming nearly unbeatable, Rem has defeated Rios Gremory 52% to 48%. Makima comes back from the brink of elimination after being completely tied with Darkness from Konosuba after about 80% of the way through voting, but manages to eke out a win. Makima from Chainsaw Man defeats Darkness 51% to 49%. And I cannot understand for the life of me why anybody wants Makima as a waifu. She's barely in the show, and she has the personality of a potato. So I don't know why, why exactly. And of course, my beloved Roxanne. Her reign of terror has ended at the hands of 02, who easily defeated her 56% to 44%. So right now in the Final Four, if you want to vote, waifuwar.net, Ai Hayasaka is taking on Rem, and Makima is taking on 02. And I can tell you right now, even though the voting has only just started, that Ai Hayasaka and Rem are pretty close, and 02 is ahead of Makima currently. So there you go, waifuwar.net.
I mean, these are all close. Like, no one beat the other by more than 5%. They were all pretty neck and neck.
02 beat Roxanne by 12%.
Yeah, but like their difference of percentage from the main line.
From the middle.
Yeah.
I feel sad, Mason, because Roxanne is gone, but it's okay.
I know. I feel sorry for you, my friend.
She's in my heart still.
Exactly. She's definitely in your something.
And not my bed, though, which is where she belongs. All right, so... Oh, Caroline, her first grimace. Her first grimace. Market people 7 minutes into the show. All right, guys.
I always think of the waifu war as something fun, like our favorite girl characters. But no, the boys of this fandom just take it too far for my liking.
I'm just going to say, like, not to make you grimace again, but real talk, like, a healthy sex life is an important part of a healthy marriage. So, it's natural. So, poor Caroline, she rolled her eyes. Oh, there it goes. What are we doing today on the show, guys? We're so glad to have you listening today. We are ready to bring the heat. I'm always bringing the heat. Now, I'll probably be drunk by the main topics. Let's go. We're going to be doing movies versus series. We're going to be talking about what anime would have been better as a movie and what movies would have been better as a series. So we're going to go back and forth with that. Got some good ones for you. We have some pretty spicy big news of the weeks also. And later on in the show, we're going to be talking about Hell's Paradise. We're going to be doing a review of the MAPPA, the latest MAPPA thing. So MAPPA's always...
MAPPA thing.
grinding their employees into bone dust. How they make so many fucking anime. It's just ridiculous.
For our benefit.
All right, guys. But for now, it's big time for big news of the week.
It's time for big news of the week.
This is not anime related. Well, I guess it sort of is, because Sonic the Hedgehog has a lot of anime content, but I am just a huge Sonic fan. Lately, Sonic has been getting a lot of games, and my Mega Man has not. So I have to say that right now, Sonic is by far my favorite video game character. And Yuji Naka is sometimes considered the father of Sonic the Hedgehog. So he did join Square Enix in 2018, but he did work for 22 years at Sega and was the former head of Team Sonic and was the lead programmer on the original Sonic the Hedgehog game for the Sega Genesis. So this guy is like, he is Sonic in some ways. And he's worked on other big games too, like Nights into Dreams, Phantasy Star Online, etc. But Yuji Naka was recently prosecuted for insider trading.
I don't know what that means. Can you explain that to me, like
insider
in terms?
Insider trading is when you use knowledge that is not available to the public to make trades on the stock market that are advantageous to you before the rest of the public is aware. So, like, if you knew that a company was getting ready to have like the most insane like profit quarter of their history, and you knew it was going to make their stock explode, you could buy that stock as an employee before the rest of the public knows about it, which would give you a huge advantage. But that is significantly illegal pretty much everywhere, except I think in our government. Some of the politicians of all shapes and sizes are just insider trading their asses off. Anyway. I say that because we all know it's true, I think. Anyway, so this guy, he bought 130,000 shares for about $150,000 He made $150,000 of profit after finding out about upcoming games in the Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy series, and was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison and a fine of $1.2 million, which is really a lot of money. But apparently, if he stays, he'll stay out of jail if he successfully completes 4 years of probation with good behavior. So it is suck. I don't think this tarnishes Sonic's legacy much. Like, most people don't even know who Yuji Naka is. But it is pretty wild to see such a big name in gaming just like fucking go to jail, or borderline go to jail. I hope this guy's got a lot of money, because $1.2 million is a pretty big fine. So you could go bankrupt for sure off of that and lose everything. So, but if you're gonna be a dipshit and insider trade knowingly, then you pretty much deserve what you get, I think. So that's the way it goes. So Yuji Naka, arguably the father of Sonic, gets it's more than a slap on the wrist. It's more like a kick in the balls. I think.
He
But
fucked
anyway.
around and he found out.
I still love the guy. Like, whatever, he gave me Sonic, arguably, and I'd rather have him get busted for something like for some like white collar crime like insider trading, than have him like assault somebody or murder someone or something. So
I mean,
anyway.
Okay, so like thinking of it this way, like you had a really cool uncle growing up. He got you all the best Christmas gifts. He gave you like this really, really sweet gaming system, and you love that gaming system.
I love it.
But he went he got sent to prison for, I don't know, what's something that's bad but not egregious?
Tax evasion.
Spray
Tax
painting
evasion.
mailboxes.
Spray painting mailboxes.
Yeah. So you're like, oh, well, I mean, yeah, you deserve to go to jail, but I can still enjoy this gaming system.
Well, yeah. And there is a new Sonic game coming out in like October, and it looks awesome. So I'm super excited. Anyway, what do you got, Caroline?
All right. So I hear that the Laid Back Camp franchise announced that a third anime season will premiere in 2024. But there are going to be some changes. Animation Studio is changing from C-Station to 8-bit. With that, there are some staff changes. Shin Tosaka from Infinite Stratus 2 is the new director. Masafumi Sugiura from Uma Musume Pretty Derby is now in charge of series composition. And Hisanori Hashimoto, who was the key animator for Attack on Titan and Guilty Crown, is now the new character designer. The series composer and sound director will remain the same. So it's coming back for a third season, but you might notice some differences.
Is that a good change, though? C-Station. What the fuck?
C-Station has not done much.
I was going to say, they got to be doing almost
Their
nothing
big
else.
thing is Laid Back Camp.
And now they don't even have that.
And
Goodbye.
I saw the promotional poster, and I don't know if it's just because I'm assuming it's going to look different and not so great in comparison. The promotional poster doesn't look great to me. Like, it looks a bit... I can't put my finger on it. There's something about it that makes it look different and probably not as good as the first two
So,
seasons.
I believe that could be the case. I have not looked at the promotional images or any trailers or anything, but to me, the strength of Laid Back Camp has always been in the sound design and just the mood it evokes from the auditory experience. So as long as they have the same voice actors, and the same general music vibe and those same stupid little pine cone things that squeak at you, I'm on board.
I think one of the main things was also the setting and the way that they make the places look is a fairly important part of the anime. So if that gets downgraded, I'm not sure about the success of it.
Maybe. I don't know. I guess visually it was never that special to me.
I mean, but it had a nice tone to it. It had nice colors.
Sure.
The forests and all that were very really
The forests.
I don't know what they would call it, like just like the setting of where they camped. It just had a very nice visual appeal.
Is this the anime where they summit mountains?
I don't know if they really summit
Or
mountains.
is that Yama no Musume?
That was like, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
This is just camping, not
Got it.
mountaineering.
Is it glamping?
No,
they-
it's pretty good. It's pretty authentic.
Yeah, they have the tents and stuff.
Are they like skinning bears and sleeping inside their skins?
No, it's
not watch
not.
Yuru Camp?
It's not Golden Kamui.
Why would I watch Yudu Camp? That's just like
I don't know.
moe
I thought you
trash.
might have seen one episode.
Isn't that just a fucking moe anime?
It's moe for sure, but it's
Yeah, it's
very
not my thing.
pleasant.
Jeez, Mitz cannot see the forest for the weebs.
That's right. I am. You
It's a very
see,
pleasant
you see this
anime.
hat behind me? I'm pointing right above it. See, it's right back there. It
on your
lords
finger.
over me like a mantra, keeping me on the path of righteousness. The Pova Mitsuki hat in the background.
What if it's the hat that makes the rules and not you? What if it's brainwashing you?
Maybe
It
it
could
is
be.
his brain, and when he puts it on, it activates his second aura. We need to put a little siren like in the hat behind him, so it's like just like a revolving red light that casts its judgment, like the Eye of Sauron on
Ooh,
him.
Yes.
Okay. All right. What do you got, Mason?
I have a new anime release that is interesting, that will say the least. Warner Brothers Japan and Wit Studio have announced at their panel at Anime Expo on Monday that they have a new anime series coming out called Suicide Squad Isekai,
Oh man.
which the title pretty much defines everything you need to know, as does a 50-second long trailer that was released where you can see Harley Quinn and the Joker running around, getting into mayhems with orcs and all sorts of other monster-filled fantasy world creatures. And it looks kind of good. I'm assuming the rest of the Suicide Squad will actually show up, and it's not just Harley and the Joker, but it wasn't in the trailer. What do you guys think? Have you seen this? Initial thoughts? DC and Isekai.
I think I heard something about it, but I'm not really a DC person. I don't really think I've ever sat through a full DC movie.
Okay.
So, and I've never, by that case, I've never seen Suicide Squad either. So I don't know if it's really something I'd be like, oh my god, I need to see this, but I'd be curious about it.
Certainly a lot of people were talking about this online. I mean, it was for sure the #1 most discussed article of the week. I saw one of the Suicide Squad movies, and it was horrific, honestly. So I just do not care. I think Harley Quinn is more or less pretty hot. A lot of people dress up like slutty Harley Quinns for Halloween. There's a good reason for that. But that's not going to be enough. Honestly, I figure we'll end up watching this. But I can't say I really care. I am so just worn out of superheroes in general, in all formats. I can't bear to watch another superhero anything for at least 10 years. I mean, I threw out a number because I was so annoyed recently with all the superhero stuff because we wanted to go to the movies and it was just nothing but superhero movies. And I'm like, how the fuck is this still happening? So I looked it up. This is a rough figure from memory, but over the last 10 years, there's been a new superhero film every 3 weeks on average for the last 10 years. You know how fucking ridiculous that is? Like, you are just suffocating me. That's
I believe
ridiculous.
It's well over 500.
So I will not be watching this unless I have to. It can't be as bad as Aquatrope of White Sand, honestly.
Okay.
But honestly,
I've already apologized.
People that love superhero movies are so spoiled. I'm talking to all of you. You comic book fans, you are so spoiled. Like, who gets 500 movies of their favorite thing? Like, that is just, there's nothing else like it in the world. I mean, man, it's just crazy. Like, I'm literally like jizzing my pants over 2 Sonic movies, and you got 500 superhero films? Are you fucking kidding? Oh my god!
But you have to remember, it's just like anime, because someone can look at it and say like, "Oh, you guys are getting 200 shows a year. How are you not thrilled with that?" And you're like, "Well, they're not all that great." And I think there's a lot of superhero fatigue.
Yeah.
I get what you're coming from. You get a
movie.
movie is a bigger budget. It's a whole bigger thing behind it. You're getting the best of the best special effects and all that in Hollywood today. I get that you can't equate it to some run-of-the-mill anime.
We can debate that because, like, to me, saying you get 200 anime a year is like saying there's 200 movies, period, because it covers all formats, all genres. But, like, the superhero movies, they're all the same genre. They're all high CG action films. So, I mean, I don't know. That's like saying, oh, you got 200 isekais a year or something in anime or whatever.
Well, look, it's perfect. You got the tired isekai trope and the tired superhero trope finally coming together at last.
We're going to cause a black hole.
I'm kind of interested in this.
Are you?
By themselves, I'm not, but I do think that the superhero like comic in the animation world is more engaging than the superhero movies, just because I think animation and cartoons can do a lot more risky stuff that isn't following the same. Oh, we put $700 million into this movie; it needs to follow and be a success. Like I think being animated gives them more freedom to actually play around and be zany with the characters. I liked how this looked in the trailer, and
I'm watching it right now.
I don't know if it'll be good, but it seems fresh and bold and different, and at least in enough of a way for me to be like, yeah, I'll check it out. I don't have high expectations, but I'm down to check it out.
You might have said this already, but this looks like CG to me, so maybe it is.
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of heavy CG components, but just generally the trailer looked appealing. I mean, it had a bopping soundtrack, so that's enough for me.
It's got a fucking dragon too. Since when does? Well, oh, it's an isekai. Oh, okay.
Oh God, is it?
Yeah, it's Suicide Squad.
It's
That's actually the title.
I was not paying attention as much as I should have. Sorry.
It sounded so bland that you're like, that's not the title. No, that is the title. Suicide Squad Isekai.
I'm fine.
Wait a minute. Will they be in the Isekai?
Isekai. Your New York accent crept out there.
Yeah. No.
So not yet,
Isekai
Caroline.
quintet.
But the guy who does Studio Wit said that if this was successful, there might be more property crossovers. So there might be a DC Isekai quartet one day.
That's crazy.
That's alarming.
Man, this is going to be bad. I'm fine spending a couple extra minutes on this. It's the biggest story of the week. There is no fucking way an anime where the Joker and Harley Quinn get transported into an isekai world full of dragons and orcs is not horrific. It's going to be the worst pile of shit you've ever seen.
I mean, I think it'd be fun if you got the generic trope of the hero comes in to save the world and then they get brought in to just cause more chaos.
It doesn't even make sense though. Isn't part of the Joker's See, I actually know a fair bit about Batman. I've seen almost all the movies. So isn't the power of the Joker that he has a huge crime network? You take him out of his network full of goons, he's just another fucking lunatic.
I mean, my guess is the Suicide Squad, the whole group of anti-villains coming with them would impact that.
I only really saw Harley Quinn and the Joker in the trailer. That's
all I saw as well.
Pretty much all that's in the trailer. So
if they called it Suicide Squad Isekai and didn't have the rest of the crew, at least in some regards, that'd be, I don't know, not disappointing because I don't care about the rest of them, but I would hope they were there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I figure it'll get but this is not the first time we've had superhero anime crossovers. Does anybody remember the X-Men anime? Because it was absolutely abysmal.
I didn't watch that one. I watched the Batman Ninja one. That was CG. That was super CG, and it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't good, but it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen.
And
then there's Teen Titans, which isn't an anime, but it's very anime-esque and has a lot of anime fans.
Teen Titans is dope. I'm all board for actual Teen Titans. That isn't Go.
Okay. There's an X-Men anime and a Wolverine anime, and neither of them barely cracked a 6. So we're batting 0 right now. So we'll have to see. I don't know. Damn, I really like Batman.
I watched the Batman Ninja and I gave that a solid 4 out of 10. So there you go.
Well, okay. You're increasing. I don't know. This is the bottom line is that this is gonna have a great budget. It's probably gonna look amazing. It could be really good. It can't be worse than the other run-of-the-mill isekais we get. They're all the fucking same. At least this isn't the same shit. The fans of comic books are gonna be thrilled. They're hoping it brings more Western fans to anime, although I don't know how that's possible at this point. I have 50-year-old coworkers who left my company emailing me for anime recommendations. I mean, these are 50-year-old people that have no business watching anime, to be honest, but they're like, oh my god, I watched Devilman Crybaby and it was amazing. And now everybody watches anime now. So anyway, okay. Well, that'll be cool. Whenever it comes out, if I have to watch it, I will. I probably won't pick it, but it's at least intriguing. Although I am burned out.
I feel like you just really changed your tune there because 2 minutes ago you saying, this is going to be a pile of shit.
It probably will be, but at least it's intriguing. I mean, I don't know.
Well, shall we move on?
I will say one final thing is that just because Warner Brothers is involved doesn't mean anything. We've had a lot of Warner Brothers anime, and they're not necessarily great. So, it's whatever. All right, movies versus series. What anime would have been better if it was a movie? And what movies would be better if it was a series? Of course, we're just talking about anime here.
Yeah, because I figured it isn't that, this show was bad and would be better if it was shortened or something like that and as a movie. It's rather like what shows. I feel like the best shows that could be a movie are the shows that had a very specific goal that was worked through the entirety of the show and would better translate into becoming a movie. And what movie had enough in its plot that could be expanded upon, that could be made into arcs, and that would be better formed into a show. So with that, I feel like there are several different properties that while are good on its own for the most part, could be enhanced by a different kind of experience with a different runtime and maybe in a difference in budget if it were a show becoming a movie.
Okay, so I can start if you guys would like.
Sure, go ahead.
So for me, we're starting with anime series that would be better as a movie. Okay, I put mine in black for no reason on here because I didn't want you guys to see.
Secrets.
I have selected Elfen Lied as my first choice.
Really making a big mark here, first try.
Elfen Lied is an anime that is exceptionally violent, and the shock value of it is very unexpected. As a young person watching Elfen Lied, it was somewhat mesmerizing because the sorts of violence that you would see in this anime were so out of the box for a young anime viewer that it was extremely memorable. And much of this anime I remember because things like Lucy twisting a dude's head off and then using his decapitated body as a meat shield against machine gun fire was something that you just didn't really see. Unless you went back to like the 80s, and that stuff wasn't normally available because it's all OVAs and it's all trapped in VHS tapes you got to buy on eBay or something like that. Elfen Lied is an anime that is in your face with extreme graphic violence all the time, and it goes well beyond what you're used to. This is the anime where the girls walk around stark naked with invisible arms that excel very greatly in just slicing off people's limbs, and their arms are, we'll say 15 to 20 feet long, and they can just they act as shields as well. So bullets will just fall, they'll just stop and fall in midair, and then you'll get your head and your arms and your legs sliced off. A very intense anime. The problem with this anime is that the runtime format of it exceeds the normal length of the story in this anime. And so what you get is that most of this anime is filled with violence. And it is extreme violence, but it's violence nonetheless. And because of that, you kind of expect the violence all the time. You're like, oh, new episode. Who's going to get their legs chopped off in the first 2 minutes in this episode? But I think a shorter runtime would keep the violence to a surprising limit and not just something that you expect to happen all the time. So the shock value of Elfen Lied is very potent in that first episode. And it's in other spots as well, but for the most part, you expect the violence to occur. It doesn't have the same impact. I really think that they really could have a less violence with more impact would probably be better. That's like having quality over quantity, and instead of just having the violence every 5 minutes. And also, Lucy doesn't get a great degree of backstory in this series, in my recollection. But I think if they gave it a movie, they could roll it into a greater plot line that would possibly make the backstory better. Lucy does get a little bit of a childhood backstory where you see her in her kindergarten or whatever, where she pretty much kills every single kid in her kindergarten, which is pretty insane anyway. To watch little kids getting their bodies splattered all over the ceilings of the classroom is pretty wild. But I just think Elfen Lied would be better as a film. I think as a movie, as a series, it just doesn't seem to lend itself that well. And that's why Elfen Lied is memorable, but isn't necessarily considered a good anime. What do you guys think about that?
I've never seen it, so I can't really make an opinion on it.
Yeah, I've only watched a couple episodes of it, and it just... I haven't seen enough of it to see if it gets boring and wears out its welcome. So
Wow.
I believe you, Mitz. I'm
You
sorry,
haven't
I
lived
couldn't
until you've
contribute.
seen the Amnesia Lucy pee her pants in episode 2.
I mean, I watched the first 2 episodes,
Oh, so you
so I
saw that.
did see that. So I have
Hmm.
lived. Count it. Put it on my gravestone.
I will say Elfen Lied has an unbelievably good theme song. It's pretty fucking awesome. Caroline, what do you got?
Okay, so the first one on my list is actually one that Mason put on his list, and I came up with one more than he did. So I think I'm going to skip that one, and we can share the discussion when you get to it, Mason.
Yeah.
So the second one on my list was 91 Days, which I don't think it's popular enough to like, oh my God, this has to be a movie. But the story lends itself, I think, very well to a movie. So if you're not familiar, it follows the story of Angelo in a Prohibition era America. His family's killed by the mafia when he was a child. He got away, and then he returns many years later to exact his revenge on the mafia family by infiltrating it and becoming friends with the son of the boss. So it's a very good anime. I love the series, but I think it could be an even better experience as a movie because it like the story has this, as I mentioned, that one specific goal of exacting his revenge, and the way it kind of like it expands and spirals. I think it would be a very good plot to be contained in maybe, I don't know, an hour and a half, 2 hours. That would mean like some sacrifice in a lot of portions. Like there are a lot of times where Angelo and like the son of Nero's his name, the son of the mafia boss, they have a lot of moments where they're traveling around, and there are some slower moments in the show which are good, but I think they could be sacrificed not without too much being missing in terms of the story for a much more condensed and action-packed movie. And that's basically my thoughts.
You both had this on your list, so why don't you both weigh in?
Well, right now she's just talking about 91 days.
Which is not on his list.
We'll talk
Oh,
about
I
the
thought
next
it was.
one shortly.
Oh, okay. Well, don't let me let me ruin the surprise then.
No, no worries. No,
Um,
I could see 91 Days as a punchy, short, like gangster movie though.
Yeah, especially since like the setting is I mean, like just like feasibly like it would picture it being a movie and it being released in the United States. Like the
Yeah,
setting it works and the dub is quite good.
I think it would work as a movie. I don't know if it would work so much better than it already does as a series though, you know?
Maybe not. Yeah, so like
Like I think it just also would make a good movie. Like and
yeah.
it's just good in both mediums.
Yeah, I'm not saying like and this was one where I'm like, okay, so as it is, it's not bad. And I think that's kind of for the
Yeah.
most part for most things on my list, it's not bad as a series. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it could be a different but also good experience if it was a movie.
Hmm.
Because there are several anime that just would not work as a movie.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah, but especially like shows that are like that have that driving plot line and have a concrete end, those are the anime that could become movies.
Yeah, I'll talk. I think we all had a little different approach going in, but we'll talk about that
Yeah.
later when I get to mine. But one that I had on my list that I knew Caroline was going to put on
Yeah,
her
that was it was the first thing I thought of when I came up with this idea.
was the show Erased, which was a super mega popular show about this guy who can kind of send his consciousness back in time and tries to solve the mystery that happened 18 years in the past in his like child body. And it's really interesting and it's really engaging and it had a great setup. And some people are really not a huge fan on how the ending went and how it was kind of rushed, and it kind of just felt lackluster after the great beginning that it had and brought a lot of people in. And I think this would be a much better movie experience than a series because I think so much of the series was making this really complex mystery play out that had a very simple solution. And I think had that all been trimmed up and refined for a movie, it would have made it feel less, I don't know, of a letdown and make it just felt more focused. I don't know what you
Hmm.
thought about it, but that was
Yeah.
my first thought.
And because one of the criticisms is that the culprit of the mystery is pretty obvious. I think it might lessen if it was in that movie time frame because there's less time for the person to really dwell on it. Like if somebody was watching this show week to week and then be like, oh yeah, like that's like, and thinking about it, they can easily find out. But and yeah, it'd still be a little bit obvious, but not as not as bad, I think.
The movie will get to the conclusion when the viewer does, and it'll be aha, instead of the viewer reaching that conclusion and then waiting 4 weeks or 4 episodes to be like, it can't be that. It can't be. Oh, yeah. It is? Oh.
And
okay.
Also, like, when we were talking about this yesterday at the meetup in New York City that we had, because we were, like, sitting down and we were eating, and I was like, oh, yeah, tomorrow we're going to be talking about anime series that would be better as movies, and I brought up Erased. And so one of the things we were talking about is that, well, it does have a fair amount in it, and there is this one part in the show that would be a great ending point if this was going to be split up into 2 movies, which I don't know, if like 2 short films maybe, but also like it could be done in 1 film, but if it were to end at that point, I think it would be a very good ending to a movie, the first one, and then, the rest of it, the second one. Maybe not like in equal parts, because I think the first part before that point is a little bit longer than the parts after that point. But I do think that out of most anime, that Erased would be a very good movie.
The Erased live action, that's also a series, right? That's not a movie? Okay. Yes. I didn't know if we could use that for comparison. I'm still sticking with it. Erased is my first one. Mitsugi, what do you got?
There are definitely a few of these where I had like written a whole thing, and then I realized, fuck, there's already a movie. Which was Death Parade. Okay. Death Parade was one of those. I was like, oh yeah,
Death Billiards would be, yeah.
I was like, shit, there's a movie? I didn't know that.
It started as the single episode,
awesome
yeah.
If we called it Death Billiards.
Anyway, so my next pick is Stelvia of the Universe, which is an anime with an incredible theme song, but doesn't get talked about ever.
Man, Mitz, you're picking all these things with great OPs.
They're fucking great. The Stelvia
they would miss out on the OPs if they were movies.
We'll put it in there anyway.
Do it in the opening,
the
okay.
Whatever. Play it during the credits. I don't know. This anime just has too many segments. It's too long. There's too much bullshit fluff in it. I think that a movie would make it shorter and tighter. Stelvia is this anime about a supernova that explodes, and the light radiation from the supernova basically cooks the entire Earth, and only like a handful of humans survive. But all the animals and stuff, like, they're all dead. But because light travels faster than anything else, they know that, like, in X number of years, all the rocks and shit from this planet blowing up are going to actually, like, come to the Earth, too, and are just going to erase the Earth, essentially. Like, all the rocks are going to come, like, 25 years later, and you're all fucked, basically. So they get this, like, I don't know, they start developing this space program so that, of course, little kids can, like, pilot robots to destroy the debris or whatever, defend the Earth. Well, for one thing, in the anime, I don't recall them really giving much attention or time to the actual supernova cooking the Earth. They just kind of start off with, like, they tell you about it, but they don't really, like, have an episode or 2 devoted to that. And, yeah, the chat's talking about the theme song. Yeah, the theme song is called Asue no Brilliant Road by Angela. It's so fucking good. But, like, I feel like they could have more time devoted to the events that caused everything in the anime to occur in the first place. And then I really think that they could give a little more high budget attention to the rocks coming, like the space action, piloting their outer space units or whatever. And they could really trim a lot of, like, the teen drama horse shit out of the anime and make it just a tighter and better show. Sometimes animes, I feel like I talk about animes as if they're, like, sentient, but sometimes I feel like anime would be better served to have less runtime because when they have too much rope to work with, they end up filling the show with just stuff that contributes next to nothing to it, and it just makes it bloat. Aquatrope, yeah, that fucking show did not need to be 2 cores. Like, there's no reason. And there's a lot of shows like that, and sometimes it's better to just take the slack out and don't leave them to their own devices because they're gonna fill it with, like, nonsense. I don't need a whole 10-minute segment about, like, fucking Kenpeito candy in your dorm room. Like, get on with it. So yeah,
I'm watching the YouTube video right now of the opening because I've never seen the show or heard this before.
the video might
And
suck, but the song
the
is
video
good.
does suck indeed, but like one of the first comments is talking about how like because of this, I know what Competto is.
Oh, god damn it. Campeto are those little candies that look like stars. They're just like it's just sugar shaped, like star shaped rock candy. Stelvia of the Universe is a pretty okay anime. Like if you want to watch it, it's not terrible. So it's also not a masterpiece, but it has an interesting premise. I like the premise. It's a good sci-fi, like post-apocalyptic. So, Caroline, back to you.
Okay, so seeing some of my flaws with my list, I have picked like a very good show that is a good series, and I'm just saying like this would work as a movie, not necessarily would be like much better. But I do have one instance of that as my last one, so I'll get to that later. So next thing on my list is a place further than the universe. You see, like it is a great show. I do think that the journey that they take would make a very good movie. Like from getting from their hometown to figuring out how to get to Antarctica and getting to Antarctica and having their emotional climaxes by the end of the movie, I think would work very well. And also plus it's a freaking great looking show, but imagine it being just accentuated by a movie budget and having it be on a big screen. I think it would work very well.
Oh my goodness, think of the penguins.
The penguins!
Think of the
Oh my
penguins.
God.
Even more penguins with that movie budget.
Have you guys heard?
Go ahead, Mitz.
Have you heard about the pyramids in Antarctica?
The pyramids?
There's pyramids in Antarctica that are like 10 times as tall as the ones in Egypt.
Is this an alien situation?
I don't think so. It's just that like they know that you got to look it up. The poles have changed like many times, and apparently like it could have been that Antarctica was actually inhabitable at one point, and there's like fucking huge pyramids in Antarctica. I will post a link for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna need that
I have
link.
not heard of that. I know of the massive Bass Pro Shop pyramid, but not the not the Antarctica one. No, I once again agree with you, Caroline here. I think this is a good show that would also work well as a movie. I think what really helps is that in the show they don't spend a ton of time actually traveling. Like they make a whole 7-episode arc of them actually on the boat. Like they just got to the point that they needed to resume the story, and like it's already kind of been trimmed so much. I like it more as a show. But yeah, it would work super well. It has a super concise ending that would make you feel good, and they could definitely get there in a reasonable amount of time. So yeah.
Short, sweet, simple. Mason, what you got?
Yeah, my next one is very similar to what Mitz was talking about with what I'm gonna call Stevia, the anime, which is just Sabikui Bisco. This was a show that came in with some really interesting ideas, a very unique world.
I'm surprised that you even remember this one.
Did nothing with it. It had way too much, as Mitz said, too much slack, too much runtime, and it filled it with just
Trash.
bad ideas, just so much fluff. The whole second half of it just dragged. Like if this was just a pared down, almost like an OVA. If they're like, bam, we got giant crabs, bam, we got zany fights, bam, we got this, cool desert, awesomeness. Hit you hard and then like leaves like an old school 80s OVA or something, that'd be fun. That'd be fantastic. But as it currently stands, it just had too much time, didn't know what to do with it, and it was just boring.
And they also need to freaking fix the ending. Because yes, the show was like based on some absurd ideas, which I loved, but it went into Deus Ex Machina territory when the guy was literally being melted by lava and suddenly came back to life. Sorry, that's a spoiler, but I didn't. Come on. It's like,
Nobody cares.
It's completely out of context. You have no idea what I'm talking about.
There's nothing you can do to save that anime, Mason.
I mean, at least take the ideas and like twist it into a short and sweet package.
And had Peru. Was that her name? Peru? Parvu?
I don't remember.
She was awesome.
It had crabs, and they were really big, and I liked that. It was
and
a paw.
So many
paw.
shrooms. It had some
All
good
right.
points.
Whose turn is it?
Yours.
It is yours, my friend.
Damn, back to Mitts. Very uninteresting pick. My third pick.
Pawu, that was her name.
That doesn't help. Pa Wu.
Pawu.
Pa
You
Wu
liked
sounds
her.
like
I
something.
remember you liked her.
Pa Wu sounds like a name that somebody gives. That's Pa Wu sounds like the name someone gives to somebody when they're about 18 months old and they can't pronounce English yet. So they're like, my grandma Pa Wu.
Yeah.
Her name.
To be fair, the main character is Bisco, so it's not.
Well,
like, they have some weird
snack.
names in this show.
To be fair, that
Yeah,
anime sucked ass, so fucking terrible.
I got the black rust lung pop.
I still liked it.
Fucking terrible. All right, so my third pick is Black Lagoon. I just think this anime feels more like an action movie than a series. They could focus on one job for longer, give it more of the Mission Impossible vibe of a longer, more detailed job that inevitably goes wrong. By the way, I'm excited for the new Mission Impossible movie. I'm sure it's gonna be fucking awesome. But Black Lagoon has a lot of like small segmented jobs. Like there's one with Nazis and all this. It's just like pick the best, most compelling story out of the group. Make a fucking movie out of it the last 90 minutes, and I think you could have something pretty great. I mean, it is totally cohesive as an action story. You know, Schwarzenegger did it like 60 times. You know, it can be done. And
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure. I'm kind of thinking, did you ever watch Roberta's Blood Trail? It was like an OVA series.
Yeah, I saw it. Yep.
So like they've kind of done it before, but even more streamlined. I think. I don't know. Like I don't know if you have time to set up the like character of Rock and everything in one movie, but like definitely for all the sequels, they could just make bombastic movies. So you're probably right.
I don't know. We'll see. It's never gonna happen. I think Black Lagoon is done, but yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
I think it would have worked.
Back to Caroline.
Okay, last thing on my list is one that would actually benefit from being a movie and not a series, and that would be Summertime Render. So I think we can all agree Summertime Render had some really great moments. You know, like the story was interesting, and it gets to a point where it flops. And it's a combination of a bit of Deus Ex Machina and too much time and milling about. And the final conclusion was not exactly to everyone's liking. I feel that if it converted the two cores to a movie length and take out some of the milling about and really get it dense enough where it's a very streamlined, intriguing story, I think it would be a lot better than it was. Because it's a good, like, people enjoyed Summertime Render. Like, that's not the problem. It's just that they had a little asterisk next to that and saying, but it does go downhill. And I feel like there's a way to make it maybe not perfect, but definitely would bring it up a couple points if it was condensed.
Yeah, as someone who thought the action second half of it dragged for too long, that could have definitely been just they do the mystery stuff and then they just have a action at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I could see it.
It would take a little bit of, I think it would take a little bit of changes to the ending too. Like there are several moments where they come to a realization about something, they meet with a big bad, and then they kind of repeat. And I feel like if they combined a lot of those moments into one and a half, if possible, then it would make it so it doesn't feel as repetitive. And
yeah,
also,
I think they would
the
have
action
to.
was not what people came for with that show. It was like, this island's fucking weird. That's what they want.
Agreed. I think they would need to refine and clean up some of the initial like time loops, because it was very interested in you saying like every minute detail and how it all put together. And they might, like you said, have to merge some of those loops together. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I could see it. My last one of series that would be better as a movie is another show we reviewed that wasn't the best reviewed, which is Carol and Tuesday, which is a show similar, I think, to Aquatope in some ways, where it was just, it did not need to be 2 cores. It did not need to be so long, and once again, just aimless in a lot of ways. And I get they were trying to show a different style of music in a lot of episodes and make it feel so kumbaya, we are the world. But I think a lot of it could have been refined, a lot of the songs shortened, and a lot of the plot points just really axed completely. And it would have been a better 1 core series and maybe even a better movie. But I don't know. I just didn't need 24 episodes of the show. And if a movie is how I can get rid of that, that's my pick.
Yeah, I've never seen it, so I can't really make a comment. But it sounded like it was more episodic, wasn't it?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, for the most part, it's just, these 2 upcoming songstresses trying to make their way. But it was, yeah, it felt very segmented.
So I see we have some listener suggestions as well, and we probably should pick up the pace on these because
we're not getting to the second half of the list.
Oh, could we make that another topic for another day?
We can, but not today.
Okay, so then we'll just talk about the we got one listener's.
We got a couple
comments.
listeners. I just put this one in here because I didn't know if we would have time.
Okay, well, Ghost Space Killer mentions shows that would be better as a movie. With Horimiya, Akiba Maid Wars, and Lane. And to all 3, I disagree. Because Horimiya is okay, there's not a driving storyline. Yes, they, have a relationship and they get together, but I don't know if it would be entertaining enough as a movie. Akiba Maid Wars, episodic. It's a great, I thought about it initially, but it's episodic and it's good as it is. And Lane would just put people to sleep. So
Fair.
Yeah, Lane would be like a disaster. Nobody can handle that shit for fucking 90 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
you
not
might like
to
it more than 12 episodes.
Not to completely decimate Ghost Base Killer's suggestions, but we talk enough on Discord that I feel comfortable doing that.
Okay.
Ghost Space Killer's tough. They can handle it.
Okay, how about 2 more? Mr. Chias says Trigun Stampede might have been better as a movie. What do we think about that?
Maybe.
No.
I don't know. Okay.
And Raggedy Doctor says Ranma 1/2 as a movie.
No. Nope.
He says the hook is very entertaining, but it ends up repeating a lot of jokes and storylines.
How are you going to put a
very little
200
plot.
episode anime into a fucking movie?
Because there's not 200 episodes of content. It's like Kimaguri Orange Road. That was 49 episodes or whatever it was.
Yeah, well,
And that
there's
could have been a movie.
there's 1,200 Doraemon episodes, but that thing also has 50 movies.
Yeah.
So,
And they're awesome.
So what do you want me to do? All right, let's call it here. So we do have a lot of
second half next week, perhaps.
We have a lot of choices for movies that would have been better as series, and we can discuss having that for next week, maybe in the after party. So
All right.
We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to our in-show weekly trivia question. In Hell's Paradise, what number is Sagiri ranked in the Yamada clan? And we'll give you the answer after the news break.
Hey, Anime Addicts, Mitsuki's here, and I'm bringing you your anime news. Starting off with a big one, Kudo Shitsuji, or Black Butler, is getting another anime season in 2024, which sounds far off, but you gotta remember this is halfway through 2023 already, so we'll be here before you know it. Director Kenjiro Okada of Sangatsu no Lion is going to be doing the directing, which is a big win because that's a pretty good anime right there. Studio Cloverworks is going to be doing the production, so you have some pedigree behind the series, so look forward to that. Of course, A1 Pictures adapted the manga in 3 seasons in 2008, 2010, and 2014. There's also been some movies and whatnot out as well. If you're a fan of Black Butler, it's coming back. Pretty exciting. 4th season, I presume. And you're going to be watching it with some pretty good quality stuff because it's retaining some prior staff from the previous series and is also being done by Cloverworks. Next up in the news, Mashal, the anime that strongly resembles Harry Potter, is ending. So with the 162nd chapter in the 31st issue of Weekly Shonen Jump, it is going to be ending indeed. This is going to be happening pretty soon here. The 17th and final volume is scheduled for a July 4th release, and the title has about 5 million copies in print, which is pretty good. Pretty reasonably sized amount of copies in circulation. The this property had in a season already done by A1 Pictures in the spring of 2023, which just wrapped up, and the second season is scheduled to premiere in the winter of 2024. So you won't have to wait long to get the next installment of Mashal. And since the manga's finished, I presume a green light to be just finish the series entirely whenever they get around to it. Next up, the light novel Rebuild World is getting a TV anime. This was confirmed by Kadokawa, which announced that Nafuse's Rebuild World light novel will be getting this adaptation. So 750,000 copies in print. The 8th volume is scheduled to release on July 14th. And the synopsis is about human civilization, which has already risen and fallen, and so it's a post-apocalyptic story. And science and society are struggling to rebuild human society, and they will be looking for relics of the past called Old World relics that will help them give clues and information about technologies from the past that will allow them to help rebuild, which is a little like Dr. Stone, but not entirely. However, there are security systems and rogue bioweapons that will kill these relic hunters if they, aren't careful, I guess. So, going to be like some Indiana Jones temple diving. I'm not really sure, but it's definitely going to be a post-apocalyptic sci-fi action. So, if you're a fan of that kind of thing, look out for Rebuild World coming out here sometime next year, I assume. And finally, the manga Kekkon Tsurute Honto desu ka is getting an anime adaptation, which is translated on my anime list as 365 Days to the Wedding, which is 100% an incorrect translation of that phrase, Kekkon Tsurute Honto desu ka, which actually means you say you're getting married? Really? Like, is that true? Like, that's basically what that translates as. I guess the English bullshit translation they gave is probably better to roll off the tongue, but it's still incorrect. This is a story about two people who are single and work at a travel agency, and they're about to open another branch in Russia, and basically they're going to send anybody from the agency who isn't married to Russia to do the setup or whatever. And these two people that work at this agency together are not married, and they don't want to go, so they fake a wedding. And they act like they're married or they're going to get married in order to not have to go live in Siberia, I guess. So there you go. This received a 10-episode live-action series that premiered in 2022 on Amazon Prime in Japan. So that's pretty interesting to be getting a live-action prior to the anime adaptation. But this is going to be coming out sometime soon, so look out for it. Hopefully it'll be fun. This was me, Itsugi, and this was your anime news break. And now time to get back to the podcast. So you're at the grocery store. Options at the sushi counter were a little thin. Spicy tuna rolls will have to do. But you know what else is a little thin? Your patience. You were listening to your favorite podcasts, but now all you're listening to is this little robot lady yap at you.
Place your item in the bagging area.
If only you had the AAA podcast's extra content, you wouldn't have even heard her talking to you over the sound of our hobby addicts, our hentai episodes, and our after parties. But now you're about to get arrested for assaulting Wally over here. Goddamn robot bitch. Little Billy's sitting at home about to go hungry while Mommy and Daddy are becoming somebody's new favorite down at the Slammer. Don't let little Billy go hungry. Head over to aapodcast.com/join our Patreon today and support the podcast. Again, that's aapodcast.com/join or Patreon.
Place your item in the bagging area.
Yeah, I'll put you in a bag.
Hi, this is Brina Palencia, voice of Rei Ayanami, and I'm an anime addict.
And then she cries.
Welcome back to the podcast. When we left you, we had an in-show trivia question for you to think about. In Hell's Paradise, what number is Saigiri ranked in the Yamada clan? Yeah.
What?
That's right. The answer is 12th. I didn't know that.
Because she's a woman. That's literally what they say.
Well, it could be 12th out of 1,000.
No, they literally said but her skill is much better than her rank would say because she's a woman. So that's the only reason why she's 12.
All right, and on that note,
we'll get more into that in the review. But yeah, I was watching that video that you sent about the pyramids in Antarctica.
Mm-hmm.
Wild, man. Wow.
Yeah, I'd believe it a bit more if it wasn't from a History Channel show called The Unexplained, spelled with a capital X, no E in Unexplained.
But it's narrated by William Shatner.
They just showed footage of mountains. They don't look like pyramids at all. They just look like... I wasn't listening. I still have my doubts.
Mason's a hater. You're a skeptic, and I don't like it.
I am a skeptic. I don't believe in ancient aliens, man.
No, yeah, this show could... I agree, though. This could be all, Like, History Channel is not exactly known for its...
Second I saw History Channel.
But it is interesting. I like these kind of things.
There's also There's also shipping lanes going right through the middle of Africa that you can look up if you want to look up the map of all the ships that are sailing. You ever wonder why there's a specific longitude that humans aren't allowed to go past by themselves?
Why?
I don't know. What are they hiding? You cannot go to Antarctica by yourself.
I think it'd be extremely difficult to do that, and
Well,
therefore kind of impossible too.
It's extremely difficult for me to climb a mountain for 7 hours with just my shoes on, but I do that.
So why is it impossible to go to Antarctica by yourself?
Because it's not impossible to climb a 14er, but it is illegal to go to Antarctica. So, but why? What are they hiding? Very
That's a
interesting.
good question. Shall we get into our mailbags?
It's time for an almighty anime mailbag. Anime.
I think it's because you'll fall off. Yeah, the world is flat. Mailbag.
Could be.
Could be. It could be made of paper too.
I don't think it's illegal, but anyway.
Let's
it is.
get into today's mailbag. Yes, please do. You can submit a mailbag by going to aapodcast.com. Just click on the mailbag button and send us whatever question you want to. And pick a nice name, too, because we got a submission from someone named Tickle My Gonads, which we appreciate the name. They say, "Hi, Addicts. I've just watched a live-action film of The Promised Neverland. I admit I wasn't expecting much from it, but I was blown away by how well it stuck to the manga and anime, and the CGI of the monsters was incredible. What live-action features have pleasantly surprised you?" Mason, would you like to go first?
Yeah, obligatory answers of Edge of Tomorrow, which is based on the light novel All You Need Is Kill, Old Boy, based on the manga Old Boy. And both of them, I think, are very loose adaptations of the source material, which is why I think they make for better movies. They're not trying too hard to stick to it. I think trying to do both and adapt one piece of medium to another, very, on the nose, is quite difficult. That said, there was a piece of news this week that Noir Caesar might adapt a live-action version of Me and the Devil Blues, which is a spectacular manga, and I would absolutely watch that. But there aren't very many good live actions out there. I haven't seen a ton, but for good reason.
In my case, I've not seen many live action movies or series or anything like that. Mostly because a lot of them are crappy. But I will say that the Erased live action series that we mentioned earlier is easily the best that I've seen, and probably the best that's available. The actors, and especially the child actors, are great. So freaking good. And the characters translate to the live action very well. They aren't wearing absurd wigs that have different hair colors just because that's what the original series designer did. And most of the characters don't look that crazy, but they are not giving the one blonde character a blonde wig. Like it's just a regular hair color. The settings and the costumes are taken directly from the anime and the manga, and it just looks so wild, like a 1-to-1 adaptation, which does has its drawbacks. Like it doesn't take a lot of creative choices into account. So if you're looking for some more interesting choices, then you're not going to get that. But it is a very good adaptation. And speaking of the manga, it does adapt it much more faithfully than the anime does, especially the ending. Plus, it's on Netflix, so it's very easy to watch, and I definitely recommend it.
Mason took half of mine, so let's see what's left here.
Sorry.
Well, first of all, I think Old Boy is one of the best movies ever made, period. Fucking
Old Boy
amazing.
is so freaking good.
It's so fucking unbelievable. For those of you that haven't seen the original Korean Old Boy,
The
it is
only one that exists.
Yes. Let's go with that. That movie is so visceral and so unbelievably good that if you haven't seen it, you're failing at life, honestly.
I haven't seen it,
go
but I
watch
have
it.
seen it in like a video where a guy was like counting down like the best plot twist movies, and I think this was number 1. So
Rest in peace, the octopi.
what
They're the real
what
MVPs.
this movie is about? If it's not like if you unless it's a movie that you should go in without any.
A guy gets put in
Fire
prison for 10 years without knowing why or for what reason, and then magically gets released just as easily as he was put in prison without any explanation. And then he tries to basically find out why and find the person that put him in prison.
And he's a little angry.
And he's
Pretty much
fucking
the whole
pissed.
time.
Angry.
And while he's in his little hotel room prison, he like practices like insane martial arts and it basically quietly becomes a badass and just goes on this like rampage essentially. But
I love that for him.
It's really a great movie, but it's very gritty. But the ones that Mason didn't
I
mention,
love that for him. What a glow up.
I know, like just self-improvement, man.
people might not agree, but I really liked the Christina Ricci Speed Racer movie. Yeah, it might not have been a great movie, but it was a lot of fun. Christina Ricci
You got back up in the chat.
Christina Ricci looks mad hot in that movie, and it's just a lot of fucking fun. Was that movie a success? Hold on a second here. We have a website for this. Box Office Mojo is great. Speed Racer movie made a puny $93 million. Oh, it lost money insanely. That sucks.
It was a failure.
Warner Brothers not doing too good lately. Yeah, that's a bad. Yeah. And well, so it was a failure. It was still good. I also think the Rurouni Kenshin live actions are pretty good. I've seen a couple of them, and they seem to do a pretty good job, honestly, to be frank with you. I also think the live action GTO is pretty good. I might be biased because I love Onizuka, but the TV series particularly is pretty good. So definitely recommend, but I definitely recommend Old Boy above all the rest of these. Edge of Tomorrow, though, is a damn good movie, and I've seen it a few times, and it is a lot of fucking fun. God, Tom Cruise just crushes. I mean, he's like the only actor I trust anymore to just put out one banger after another. And this Mission Impossible movie is going to be fucking dope when it comes out.
I hope you're not disappointed.
I don't think so. Mission Impossible is so cool. It's just awesome. Does anybody have any? What's that?
I've never seen Mission Impossible.
That's not good. You should go watch at least the first one.
I'm busy. I'm a busy girl.
Oh, come on. Get the marijuana out, sit on your couch, have some popcorn, and just
Should
drift
I
away.
watch? No, but here's the question.
Yeah.
Should I watch Old Boy first or Mission Impossible first?
Well, Old Boy's
I don't know
a
if you'd
better
like Old
movie.
Boy.
Old Boy's better. It's harder to watch. It's extremely violent. I mean, there's a scene in Old Boy where he rips a dude's teeth out with a hammer.
Oh God, I cannot do teeth stuff.
Yeah, and it's
That's the.
it's
I can
pretty.
I can do violence, but I can't do teeth stuff.
It's pretty much shown too. I mean, you could just close your eyes or skip the scene. Honestly, it's not important. But Old Boy,
I have to do that.
A little tongue action in there.
Oh God, they rip his tongue out.
no, but
they don't rip it out. Anyway, would you rather see that or have a really, really, really annoying theme song stuck in your head?
No, but like I have not heard many things about Old Boy, but only that it's good. So I think I'll have to watch it at some point.
Here's what you do. Watch Old Boy. Just watch highlights of the hallway fight scene with the Mission Impossible music playing. And that's it. That's perfect. That's peak
That's the
cinema.
experience. Yeah, there we go.
Old Boy is one of my favorite movies. So if you only could watch one, I would say watch that. So.
But thank you for the heads up. At least now I know that is a thing in that movie, so I'll be ready.
Yeah, you won't go down to your parents and be like, let's all watch this movie together, everyone.
Yeah. No, they would.
Yeah.
Okay. But, like, I would have to do like a ton of convincing in order for them to watch anything that's subtitled.
Oh, it's probably
like,
dubbed.
I couldn't even. Or in like no, I hate live action dubs. Like it just does not work for me.
Old Boy is one of the most famous movies to ever come out of Korea. I mean, it's that good.
I mean, I had to fight my sister to watch Parasite, they weren't even paying attention.
I promise you, this is much better than that.
Parasite was good.
This
I should
movie,
probably rewatch it. I can't remember much
well,
of it.
this movie is like, let's see here. What is this movie even close to on like IMDb? And it's an 8.4 on here. Not that IMDb really matters. I don't know what else to do though, but I mean, 8.4 puts you up there with like The Dark Knight and like other like legendary
other movies that she hasn't seen. Anyway,
yeah,
let's
exactly.
move on.
I literally mentioned I've never seen a full length DC movie.
Batman, yeah.
Although now that I think about it, I have seen the Wonder Woman or the Wonder Woman movie. So that's the one thing I've seen.
There you go.
All right, so Hell's Paradise.
Yes, this
Take it
is
away, Mason.
a
This is yours.
show that I failed on episode 675
Womp womp.
because it came out in a really good season, and
It
I
did.
was like, it's just not making the cut. But it
You had
was
too good
voted
of a list.
by the listeners, and I wasn't surprised at all. This is a spring 2023 show. You can watch it on Crunchyroll or on Netflix if you are in the Asia Pacific region. The synopsis is that Gabimaru the Hollow is one of the most vicious assassins out there today. He comes from this ninja village that just taught him how to kill, and that's what he does best. But unfortunately, he gets betrayed by them and is up for execution, and his only chance to save himself and return to his beautiful, beautiful wife that he loves so much is to travel to this mysterious island to find the fruit that bestows the elixir of immortality. And he goes to this island with his like supervisor who kind of wants to kill him, and a bunch of other criminals whose supervisors kind of want to kill them. And they try to find this magic fruit and return back safely. This is done by a little-known studio named MAPPA, who have hot off Vinland Saga Season 2, which we all really liked, and they're doing Jujutsu Kaisen right now.
They're
It's
really
directed-
cracking that whip.
Yeah, by Kaori Makita, who did Kakegurui Twin. It's based on a manga, and I think that's kind of the prelude. So we're going to get into spoiler freeze. What was everyone's initial expectations going into this show? We'll start with Mitsugi today.
Well, I knew nothing about this. Honestly, I didn't even know it was Mappa. I just like turned it on and was like, okay. So I had no. I knew it had good reviews. I remember that like something like every other person that voted in the listener choice wanted this one. So I knew that people wanted it badly. So I kind of expected it to be good. But, I mean, as far as the story, I had no idea. I knew nothing about it beyond the fact that it was supposed to be good. So, that's about it.
You just started it, saw that it didn't begin with a 90-minute first episode, and you're like, okay, I like where we're at
I just
so far.
completely I don't know. I had no expectations.
Caroline, thoughts coming in?
Yeah, so when we were doing our picks for the spring season, I did look at this. I read the synopsis. I watched the trailer. The trailer just looked so generically shonen to me, and just like combined with the fact, like, you know, the wild hair colors and like the very Bakugo-esque character that was in it, and I'm like, okay, it's gonna be pretty, you know, it's gonna be a hit or miss show. You know, it's not really gonna be doing anything new and exciting. So I didn't give it much thought. I didn't even put it in my list. But I did hear good things about it through Discord, and I did constantly get the conversations mixed up with Heavenly Delusion. Because, I don't know, similar vibes with the titling, like Heavenly Delusion and Hell's Paradise. And also, they would frequently abbreviate it to HD and HP. And, you know, those are similar, so I couldn't really follow along with like the discussions of Hell's Paradise because I kept on getting it mixed up, but I did hear good things regardless.
Nice. For myself, I had it very high on my list because I've read a bit of the manga, so I knew what I was getting into. Very stylish, very violent, very a unique spin on shonen in some way. Very curious to see how Mappa would translate that to the anime scene. And I, didn't hate the first couple episodes, but just wasn't sure if it had that special sauce to rise above the likes of Oshinoko and Heavenly Delusion. So, glad it got pulled back. Let's see how we thought of it. Spoiler free once again. Would you recommend this show to people, Mitsugi?
No, I would not. This show started out very, very excellent. I surprised it got failed. Honestly, I think it's probably a product of a season that was just really good.
Yep.
But it went from being very mysterious and very visceral. Like I really feel like there's a lot of very good setup in this anime where they are, you're going to go to this island and you're going to find the elixir of life, which is insanely cliche, but something that an emperor would do. And you're going to bring back the elixir of life and you're going to get pardoned for your crimes. But oh, by the way, like all of the last 60 people died or whatever it was. And so you're like, holy shit, like what the fuck? Like, well, what are they getting into? And I actually thought they were going to go underground. Like I thought they were going to be going into hell or something. Because I didn't fucking know. But this anime goes from being extremely violent and sort of exciting, like, ooh, what's going to happen? To just evolving into just cheesy looking monsters, psycho characters that are really hard to root for, and just way too much mindless action. Like it's just, I don't know. The promise of the trip that the characters were going to go on in this anime was actually better than the trip itself. Like the destination. This is like when you're like, oh my God, I can't wait to go to, I don't know, insert a country that I am arbitrarily choosing. I can't wait to go to Italy, because if the pizza in the United States is this good, imagine how good it's going to be in Italy. And you get to Italy and you're like, this is nothing like the pizza I know. Fuck this pizza. Regardless of whether the pizza's better or not, I just didn't think I don't know. And also, there's a lot of like gender ideology stuff in this that got really old really fast. I just cannot tolerate politics or anything even resembling politics in entertainment anymore. And I don't know how many times I had to hear like, she's a woman, she can't do this. And then like, she's like, yes, I can. And then, oh, look how tough she is. She's a woman. And oh no, she's a woman. And so she can't. It's like, shut the fuck up. Like, who the fuck cares? Like, just honestly, just move the fuck on. I'm tired of this bullshit. Just quit feeding it to me every single 5 fucking minutes of my life. I'm tired of it. Move on. Honestly, I could have buried this anime just for that. I was so tired of it. But yeah, this anime is just a violence fest. If you want to watch violence, go watch Shigurui or Ninja Scroll or something else. It's not really needed. Next.
I'll go. Yeah, I honestly, surprisingly agree with you on many of your points.
What?
The difference is that even though I agree on a lot of those points and they are my critiques, I still felt like a good amount of big dumb fun quality in this show that I still appreciated, and I still enjoyed watching it. But yeah, you were saying like the promise of the first couple episodes, where they were going, the mysteriousness of this island, the flowers growing out of people's eyeballs, and I'm like, holy shit, this place looks...
What the fuck's gonna happen? My God.
I was gonna say, this place looks cool, but it's definitely not. I'm like, oh God, this must be a horrible place to visit. But yeah, I was very interested by all this. But it did get to the point where some of its mysteriousness got lost, and they focused more on what I felt was like, exposition, and it like it'd be one of those kind of expositions where they'll be fighting someone and they're like, well, since you're gonna die anyway, I might as well tell you, kind of things. I'm like, oh, I hate that. But, and as you said, like, there are a lot of fighting anime out there. I still really liked the fight scenes. I thought they were very fun. And the characters, they are simplistic, but I thought that there was like enough of them with different backgrounds. I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like, not great, but I like the kunoichi and the ninja and the guy who's big and brawly and he just wants to make a name for himself as a fighter and that kind of thing. And like the brothers and even like the samurai, which again, not very, expansive, but like Tenza, I think his name was. I freaking liked him as a character. I thought he was very interesting, and you didn't really see a ton of him, but I thought like, wow, that's pretty cool. Sagiri, as you mentioned, the whole I'm a woman kind of thing in a man's world.
God, just please.
It's so overdone.
So
like
tired.
I'm not the type to like completely discount a show because of that kind of thing. Like you are, Mitsuki, I know you're jaded by all that, but as long as it's done well, I don't really care all that much. But it really was like the first few episodes, like most of what we see of Sagiri is that, she's a woman in this man's world and she's trying to be a samurai and she can do it, but she's being held back by her gender. She's ranked 12th, even though she could have been ranked much higher if she was a man. And blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah. Like, there's nothing to this. Like, it's done 1,000 times. And then it gets to the point where, like, she does things that make me lose faith in her ability as an actually functional samurai. Like, she's like, I'm a woman, but I can fight. And then she faints. And she has to be carried to a cave. And I'm like, okay, why am I suddenly kind of agreeing with the misogynistic bastards in the show? That's not good. So, and there, she has her moments where she's completely fine. It's just her, when she's being focused on, it's not interesting, and it's been done 1,000 times. And then even, and here's a good thing though, like even when I said like, oh yeah, the exposition sucks. But there are times where they have explained the rules of the island and the secrets of it using different language and demonstrations across the multiple groups of characters, which I don't know, some people might not like that much, but I thought it was very interesting because they kind of show this island as a melding of different religions and cultures and beliefs. And I kind of felt like, okay, so this is kind of like a similar thing where they're showing the same thing, but each group is calling it something different. Like the blind guy sees it as waves when really it's, I suppose if we're doing spoiler free, people don't really know what that means, but like this energy he sees as waves when really it's the mystical energy that powers the island that people see differently. So I thought that was really good. And ignoring all the other critiques, I thought it was just really fun and interesting enough that I think it's worth a watch if you like that kind of thing. Just don't expect high art. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. I wanted to like the show a bunch. I think it came out with so many things that were really compelling. This cast full of criminals that are on this dangerous magical quest, this super brutal and violent setup that it gets into right off the bat. It doesn't waste your time through this needless stuff at the beginning. The island itself is pretty interesting. It's perverse, it's fantastical, it's frightening, it's spiritual, it's nightmarish, it's familiar. It's just so unaccommodating. And the flower infusion, the monster design, it just was a really compelling setting. I think the main character is pretty fun with his pacifism that lasts for 3 seconds, where he's like, I'm not going to kill anyone.
Yeah.
Never mind, I will kill you. He was a mix of Intoki, Vash, and Maze Hughes all at once. He was a fun character to watch. He's a good person to root for. Yeah. And I think I said in my impression, if I was in the 5th grade, I would be so hyped for the show. It was just everything I wanted, and it was a blast. And it felt fresh in a lot of the themes it was bringing up with the mixing of religious ideologies and different. It just felt something special, but it wasn't. It felt stifled, and it just, the more I watched it, the more I felt that it was just fine. Mitz brought up a food analogy earlier, so here's mine. It's like if you went to a restaurant where they're like, oh, this burger comes with secret sauce, and you get it, and it's just a mix of ketchup and mayonnaise, and you're like, yeah, it's good, but it's disappointing that that's all that it was. And it really, this show brought in all these concepts and themes, but it felt so borrowed and repeated or unrealized and frustrating. It just never, like it is a strange and unique setting, but it tried too hard to over explain everything to make sense of it, like what I'm doing right now. And I didn't like, to contradict Caroline, how all these characters were kind of having the same conversation across the island at once. It felt like fireworks going off, where they were all just trying to boom in to continue the explanation of like
I agree
the
with
core
that
is at
too,
their
yeah.
stomach, and then another character will be like, just like in this thing, where the core is like this, and the other character will be like, yeah, the stomach right below the navel is like in this thing, and it's like, I get it, I got it. Let it be a little mysterious. Don't explain everything where the majesty kind of goes away. So, I mean, at its core, this show is not awful. It just falls short from what I wanted it to be and falls short of what the manga was, and I was kind of disappointed on both accounts. So, if you're super into shonen, this I think is a more unique take on it, but it really doesn't rise above in the ways that I wanted it to, and it kind of felt like a letdown because of that. So I don't really give it a recommendation unless this is exactly the kind of bread and butter stuff you're in for. So that said,
Oh, Chicken Master 903 says something very smart. I went from not hearing Tao once in my life to hearing it 30 times an episode.
yeah,
Very, very
I mean,
accurate.
this show definitely also threw a lot of verbiage at you, from Hokos, Horais, Aishus, tend like there is a lot to like.
Yeah.
You almost need like a glossary of everything it's putting down. But
Yeah,
no, I mean, it's a fine show. It's definitely not awful. Give a couple episodes a shot if you're in for it. Hey, great. If not, we'll talk about what we thought about it as it went on with spoiler time.
Spoilers are coming. Oh my god.
I felt so dumb. So I felt so dumb watching this because I'm like, Pancake, look at this fucking anime. Just holding the phone up and I'm like, watch this guy like just tear this guy's throat out with his mouth.
Yeah.
I was like, he's gonna bite his throat and just rip his throat out. It's like fucking awesome. I'm like, I was like, boy, Mappa's really developing a pedigree, isn't it? Like all these animators look so good. And then by episode
I'll be
What's
I
that?
was very entertained by the whole like execution one by one at like in the first episode, like all the execution styles and how it was described and everything.
Oh yeah, we're gonna pull your limbs apart. We're gonna torch you alive, like all that stuff.
and this anime didn't suck at all. I mean, like it didn't suck, okay? Like for quite the contrary. I mean, at least in the first like quarter of it, I thought it was fucking awesome. But
I think
by
the main
episode
thing is that it promised something much greater than it was.
well, it did. By episode 7, I'm watching it and I'm just like, here come all the goofy looking Titan characters. We're gonna fight another big fucking dude who cries because he's hungry. I'm just like, for fuck's sake, like it's like when are we gonna?
Then they did the Demon Slayer thing where they give the villain a backstory as he's dying, and I'm like, I still don't care about him.
It was like the first time ever where I was begging for an anime to quit fighting. I was like, "Will you please quit fighting for just a few minutes?"
No, but even so, I
Yeah.
really liked the fight scenes. Even if you did think there were too many of them, I thought they were interesting and like they moved well, and the different fighters had different way of doing things. So I thought it was entertaining enough.
Yeah, I mean it's not shit. I just I was hoping for a little more. I don't know what I wanted. I didn't want just random people encountering each other in like the jungle or whatever and fighting.
Well, it was kind of interesting, Mitch, because when this first really started and then they all got to the island, I was expecting most of the show to just be these criminals going head to head with one another, kind of like a
Like
death
Hunger
game.
Games style? Is that-
Yeah, like at the very
Yeah.
beginning when they're taking out each other, I'm like, okay, this is
I
what
can
it's
see
going to be. We're going to have the duos of the criminal and their protector clashing, and that's how it's going to go. And then the island was like, nope, never mind. I want to be the main character. And we get a whole Wizard of Oz episode where every character is like, I don't think we're in paradise anymore. and we hear all these characters being like, I'm starting to believe the elixir of life is on this island, as if the audience like needed to be convinced. But then, it does shift into, it's not criminal versus criminal, but criminal versus island. And I thought that was a unique take on it. And the way they start forming alliances and stuff was, more engaging than what it otherwise would have been. But I think we start to be drip fed these like backstories that Caroline was talking about of each criminal and each protector. Like, here's their how they got here and their life story, and it was setting up all these payoffs that either weren't that good or we never got to. Like, we're gonna have to wait for multiple seasons before we get the payoffs, and it just started to feel like, again, I'm sure you have a fine story, Mister, but I just don't care anymore.
I think I'm done with that whole like. Real
Sorry.
quick, Caroline. I think I'm done with the whole like multiple season payoff thing. Like, if you want to have multiple seasons, if you want 4 or 5 seasons, like, I need to have a payoff every season. Like, I'm not gonna watch an anime and get no payoff and then trust you. I'm not gonna do the Kaguya-sama thing where I'm like, okay, well, I have blue balls, nothing fucking happened in this whole goddamn show. And I watch another season, nothing still fucking happens. The days of me like putting in another season on the potential chance that you'll give me something are over. You're either gonna give it to me in season.
Strong finale.
You're either giving it to me in season 1 or I'm fucking done with you because I'm 37. I don't have time to watch anime barely at all anymore, and I'm not gonna fucking sit there and waste my free time on a second season when I don't have time. So give it to me in season 1 and give it to me in season 2 and 3, or I'm not gonna fucking watch season 2. End of story. Simple.
Although in one case where I feel like the backstory did have its payoff was with my favorite character, as I mentioned, Tenza. And I think it was mostly because I was just shook by the fact that this character, I felt like this character is going to be here for a while. But then they just take him away. He take away Tenza.
Womp
My
womp.
favorite.
I mean, it was important though because that like set up Shion and Nurugai.
Yeah.
Like, those two characters had that relationship, and now, like, I get why they do it. It all made sense. Like, they were doing a backstory, and I'm like, okay, I get it. I just don't care.
Yeah.
I cared.
I mean, Tenzo was good.
I mean, there was, he wasn't perfect. Like, he was like, I'm an idiot, so you have to explain it. But I'm an idiot, and I'm like, okay, I understand you have low self-esteem, but it also, like, his backstory gives him no reason to be so like, oh, I'm an idiot, and he just becomes that as an adult. And I'm like, I don't understand where that came from.
It doesn't connect.
Yeah.
Smoothly.
Minus that, I just felt like his reasoning for, just instantaneously aligning himself with a child who didn't do anything wrong, who has no reason to be here on the island, and putting everything on the line to save them because they realize, like, this is the one thing that's what my master told me to do, is find the thing to protect, and this is my thing to protect. And following it through, and having Shion, one of my other favorite characters, kind of, evolve as a person as another one of his students suddenly gets killed, it's a good story. And, who doesn't love a blind character in anime that can actually, quote unquote, see?
I did like the cut. I think it was like Yuzuriha was like struggling with the concept, and she's like, where is this hot, sexy teacher to show me everything? And then immediately cuts to Shion.
Yeah.
And you're like, I get you. I get what the show's going on, and he's a cutie.
Also, Yuzuriha, she's simple. She doesn't really do much, but boy, she fills her role. She's a pretty good. She does a good job.
Yeah, she's the unique, fun character. You never know what side she's on, if she's gonna just cheer for you or actually help you out. Like, she was fine.
I mean, she's
and
TNA
like her,
basically.
Like, and her last moments with Senta, I thought, and like the way that whole thing where she's talking to, what's her face, Sagiri, saying like, listen, we do have some medicine for him, but he's not gonna make it. We got to keep this for ourselves. And then, like, even being that realist, but then going and comforting Seta in his last moments were really good.
How far into the waifu war does Yuzuriha get if she's eligible?
16, maybe.
I was about to say 16.
Top 16?
Yeah.
16 if this show can retain its popularity, aka if it can get a season 2.
Because she's really hot, so, I mean...
She is very hot.
She probably fucking, yeah.
She also had a great voice actress and was fun to watch. Like, every time she was on screen, she was doing something dynamic and interesting.
She had a great voice. You didn't expect that one, did you?
What were you really gonna say?
That was my main joke.
Let's see.
But even though I did like Shion, even though I did like him, he is an example of how it's weird that the samurai changes their minds about the criminals very easily. Like, they go in, you'd expect samurai to be very, strict in their in their duty and keeping with what they're told to do and not really, diverting from that path. But so many of them just like, you know what? I kind of like this person, so I think I'm going to ignore what people are telling me to do here. And I get it. They kind of been abandoned onto an island of death, but you would think that they would try a little harder to stay with their duties. And again, this is a child, and of course anyone would be like, okay, this child does not deserve to be on this island. Shion basically told him, like, what are you doing, Tenza? Why are you helping this kid? And blah, blah, blah. And he's like, actually, I'm going to save this kid just for you. And you know what? I'm going to take them under my wing just for you.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of already got that early on with Sagiri being like, I'm following the rules and making sure Gabi does his thing. And the other guy's like, no, you're stupid. Don't do that. Like, no one actually cares about following the rules, you dweeb. You're such a nerd. And just, like, bemoans her. And she's like, okay, I guess.
Teacher's pet.
I guess it's fine.
Yeah. And there is another con that I thought of all throughout this anime, and that is, this is a fucking stupid plan. Like, and also, like, why would, I understand, like, sending criminals to the island, but sending so many of your prized fighters to the island to also have to put themselves at risk is absolutely stupid.
It is stupid.
But they do recognize that in the show. They're saying, like, what is the shogunate thinking? Like, this is a stupid plan. So that either way, like, they might get into that a little bit more. Maybe there is some reasoning behind that, or maybe they don't. Either way, I'm glad that they did recognize that. So I'm going to take that con off the list.
My prediction is that the energy that the Eldritch gods, we'll get into that later, use to make their elixir, I think relies on strong, powerful fighters. And I think this is just like their monthly sacrifice of like the Shogun's gift to keep this island at bay. Here's 50 just super strong fighters. Drink them up and you'll be powerful. Like that's my guess. No, this show is extremely stupid in a lot of ways. Like all of Gabi's like shinobi rules are like really similar. He's like, rule number 5, don't fight an unknown enemy. Rule number 9, analyze the enemy's abilities. Like, that's almost the same thing.
Yeah.
So, and the called out attacks are so shonen-y at times. It's a little...
Oh, I hate those. I mean, I didn't really notice it too much, except in that last fight with Shion versus, like, the giant monster. Like, and he kept doing, like, autumn rain, and I don't know, a blistering sun, and they all looks the same. You're just slashing a sword. It looks cool. But you don't need to give those moves names.
Yeah. And I guess I want to talk about animation, because it is kind of, for how much fighting there is, I want to get into it. So I think the strong point of the show, in my opinion, is the colors. The bright and exuberant flower palettes, the flames with like the purple core. I think those looked sharp. There was a lot of comedy from the animation. The scene of like Gabimaru like trying to like bind his hands back together as he gets clobbered early on, and he's like, I gotta tie my hands together, as like every like weapon breaks around him. And it's just some other moments of like, it's like you're just like, I'm gonna decapitate you if you don't accept, and he like stretches up to show his neck and then sighs and acceptance. Like there's a little bit of things that are like, oh, that was a nice touch, you know, some nice metaphors of Sagiri like sheathing his dangerous tendencies. But for the most part, there's a very strong lack of cohesion to this show. A bunch of fight scenes where a character will get hit and go flying through the air, and then the next shot, it shows that he actually slid on the ground. Dozens of weapons will rainfall around a character. The next shot, there is nothing around them. Like some of the choreography is slick, but the positions, the flow, the equipment, it's all haphazard. And a lot of times, like you mentioned, they'll fight a little bit, and then the next scene they'll be really far apart for some reason, just to give them weird time to talk and discuss the next phase. Like the character, go ahead.
With that, the fighting will pause too. Like the monsters will conveniently just stop attacking
and be like, "Let me explain really quick."
Have and like explain, and also for the for the protagonist to come up with a plan, and that happens in a lot of anime, but it happens a lot in this show.
Yes, and I think a lot of that is chewing up time. The character designs are really clunky, even when they're not moving, which isn't too distracting, but sometimes like you have these big dramatic moments, like Sagiri is like bent over talking about her like reason to continue, and her hairstyle is like changing from shot to shot, and you're just like, okay, like there is a general lack of consistency that just needs to be cleaned up if this is to continue, because it looked wonky at times.
Well, it is going to continue. It got a season 2 is greenlit.
Is it? Well, so they got about a third of the way through the manga, so I'm guessing it needs another 2 or 3 seasons to get to the end. And honestly, I'm fine for multiple seasons. Like Mitz, I would like to see a bit more of a like concrete, hey, we got somewhere at the end of season 1. The whole amnesia thing that's starting to affect him at the end completely deflated my interest in continuing.
I hated that.
I do not need another arc of that.
That was a bad point to end the first season. And not just that, there were other things that are like, this is the end of the season. Like, why did they choose this point? But like, but that story point in general is like, oh, I hate this. Like, why even have a character grow at all if you're going to give them amnesia?
Well, it's interesting because usually, Yuzuriha. Yeah, Yuzuriha brings up this whole like, does he even have a wife? Is everything he said a lie? Like she questions it, and that's interesting.
Yeah.
But I don't care about that and him developing amnesia, saying I can't even remember my wife's face at the same time. Like that's so unneeded. I'm just like, I don't care. I just don't. I've seen this arc so many times.
And I mean, that whole like thought that maybe the wife doesn't even exist is interesting, except I was expecting this to be a show that because he has a wife that he's devoted to getting back to, they would not tease a relationship between the male and the female lead, which happens all the time. And I was thinking like, okay, great. So that's one thing I don't have to worry about. But now that they are entertaining the idea that the wife does not actually exist, it gives them room to have, Sigiri and Gabimaru to be a couple, which is so, like, I don't really care about that.
Who really gives a fuck, honestly? I mean...
Yeah.
I don't think any of the characters in the show are likable enough to even care about that.
They're all fine.
They're all fucking murderers.
I'm not really rooting for them. I'm just watching them explore, and I'm really rooting for the island and seeing what more are we going to discover.
Yeah, but it just kills everybody. I mean, honestly, like, they're all terrible people. I mean...
I like the goddesses and gods that like defend it. The Lord Tenzin, like those are interesting people with their weird flower power. Like that's
I'm not
fun.
really counting them though. I mean,
yeah.
But even like whether they're the villain, whether they're the criminals or the people guarding the criminals, which I think is kind of like. To me, it's like you send criminals to this place because even if they fail, you still got rid of them, right? Yeah. So why take your most talented warriors? But like even the most talented warriors, like they're still people that have killed a shitload of fucking people. Like they're not like I'm just because I'm a girl and I like decapitate people as an executioner. It's like, I mean, great. I still don't like you. I mean, I don't know. Your whole personality is like, I've got this. They're just, I don't know. The characters. I know this is like feudal Japan sort of, but like the characters are just so stuffy. It's like. They're very serious. Like, nobody would want to be with any of these characters. It's like, my whole life is my sword, and I blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, great, but it's not very romantic. Like, it's not very likable. Like, no one likes Kenshin when he's brooding in, like, the rain with his sword that he just killed 300 people with, and I don't know.
Well, that's what makes Yuzuriha kind of stand out, because she's one of the few who's just like, I'm just trying to survive and live my life and have a good time doing it.
She's probably, I probably liked her better than anybody else in this. I have no idea what
I wanted to like Sagiri. I hated how they kept on doing this overdone nakedness of her like inner mind of like these black shadows like grabbing onto her and holding her back.
And the placement of the hands.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not like you're not focusing on a metaphor here. You're focusing on how can we get naked women in the show and make it look tantalizing.
And it's interesting because like I get I get it. The visuals of like you're stripping her down to her bare feelings. Like, okay, sure, at best. But like that happens in the manga in one small little panel. Like it's all over the first couple
Yeah,
episodes
the
of this
first few
anime.
episodes.
And the other thing is like there's naked villains kind of throughout this show. But like they don't make it so sexualized and like to the main it's just off-putting in a lot of ways. And I'm just like, I could have done with at least a lot less of that, if any at all. So
Also, like here's another point. With how powerful the criminals are, how did they get arrested in the first place? Like, there's no way that any of the people that are on this island right now should have ever been arrested. Like, in Gabimaru's case, you can make it so, like, okay, so he wanted to die. Like, he thought he wanted to die, so he let himself get arrested. Like, he could have easily, like, broken out, but he didn't for his reasons. But Yuzuriha, the massive guy that cut off his hand, and the Bakugo look-alike, they all should have never been arrested.
It's also way more likely that you would have nudity in this show because you've got, for example, women fighting in like yukatas. Like, come on! Like, I was just at a water park. Girls can barely go down a water slide in a bikini without having their tits fly out. So I don't know how you're supposed to like be spinning around and flying around, having a sword fight in like various states of undress and unpreparedness. And like not like
what are you referring to?
You were just talking about how like they're trying to get nudity into the anime.
I mean, in the manga, like the manga is full of like really grotesque details and like nudity, and that's why I was interested to see how well they adapted it. And they adapted all the violent stuff well, but they can't show nips. So
I was just piggybacking. Caroline was talking about how like they'll do anything they can to shoehorn in like a naked woman, and then it's like but how do they even apprehend these criminals? And I'm like, well, how do they not have naked women in this show? Because no one's gonna fight in a fucking yukata and not have
Mid's
like
asking the real questions here. How did they not have naked women?
I don't know. This anime
makes no sense.
This anime is very simple, so I don't have like a lot of comments. I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea what I really wanted from this anime. Like, what did you guys envision when they were basically when they were like set off on their journey? Like, what did you think? This might exclude Mason because you might have seen it before, but just asking, like, what did you envision happening? Because I did not envision like a tropical island with like, I don't know, like villains who looked like they had come from human civilization and then otherwise not. Like, I don't know what I expected, but Caroline, for particularly, I'm curious, like, what you thought you were heading into, because I kind of thought he was going down into hell.
I mean, I kind of knew it was going to be an island. While I can't say like, oh, I never expected it to be like that, but you know, I wasn't surprised by it. You know, like the flower field that they kind of come into is, you know, it was good. I didn't really mind it, and I didn't mind like the villains being the way that they were either. But I do think that I had higher expectations for how it was going to play out, and that wasn't really fair because honestly, thinking about it, I don't know if those expectations could have possibly been met because it still was a very vague image I had in my mind. Maybe I would have expected a little more of like a Junji Ito-esque kind of horror, because they had the flowers popping out of the smiling corpse, and I'm like, that's like body horror. So I was expecting more of that to be part of the trials and tribulations that came with the island, more of that type of horror. And that is a big ask, because even they can't even do Junji Ito right, and it was already written. So
that's fair enough. Why do they always try to change shit? It's fucking written. Well, it's written already. Like, this happens all the time. I was just talking to somebody about something. What the fuck was it? Like on yesterday, I was discussing how writers take something that's already finished and they fuck it up anyway because they try to change it from the way it originally was, and it pisses everybody off.
Yeah, but I feel like that's a whole other conversation.
Well, maybe it is, but
if I can make one more point, because this is one more point that I had written down, if there's anything else you guys want to talk about, but they really master the whole superpower thing very quickly and easily, especially when considering literally every single monster will say, oh, it's impossible for them to control Tao, and they do it with barely any instruction. In fact, one guy's been doing it his entire freaking life, and he didn't even realize it.
Mitsuki, can we get Caroline to voice a character in Dragon Ball Z? Because that was a
Which character?
dead-on, just any villain, any like bit player villain. I need
Zarbon.
Ode mastering Tao at such a quick pace.
Ah.
This is unforeseeable.
It's
Give me a
impossible.
script, and I'll do it. It was
I still think we
overnight.
need to do a podcast dub of a show one day. But
I think
Sure.
you
No,
can.
I get
I
you.
think you can do
Caroline.
it.
And I think there's a general sense of, these are skilled fighters. They have been learning it in one way or another through their training. But
and if
then
that
don't
was the
tell me it's
case,
impossible.
I feel like it was because they hammered home how impossible it was, and they did it multiple times.
Yin
And
and yang.
also, they were
powers.
able to control it without any experience with it. But like, if it was just them like suddenly learning how to see it and sense it, then I'm like, okay, that's reasonable enough for me. And then maybe later on they can kind of control it. But it just too quickly, and they really gave a lot of information on how it all works, but it doesn't seem to apply to the humans who just like suddenly learn how to do it. But they were like, there's so many levels of training to the point where you even have to have sex to do it.
Yeah, how is Mitz not all
Yeah,
about
they
that?
kind of skip that. I'm not sure what, I'm not sure what, like maybe it's like the completion, like that is the final form of this energy power or whatever. But it's like so much being thrown at you, and to add, you must have sex to completely control the power.
Pretty
is like,
based, pretty
whoa,
cool.
okay. That makes sense.
I don't know. More
speechless.
naked ladies. What more do you need?
There are no. See, here's the thing, right? As a member of Modern World, there are no naked ladies in this anime I really am interested in. They're just. There's nothing about running around in a jungle for like any amount of time that is going to make you appealing in bed. And all it's gonna result in, male or female, is you're just gonna smell bad. I mean, basically, like that's.
Yeah.
You were just
I
gonna
imagine a
stink
lot of
and
these
stink. Like your
smell.
balls are gonna be like I'm gonna be able to smell your balls from 10 feet away. Like they're just gonna smell, and probably
But
the
how
JJs.
convenient.
Those are gonna smell, and the
They're
armpits are
surrounded
gonna
by
smell.
flowers. It'll be pleasant.
No,
But how
Maybe-
convenient for this civilization that died off thousands of years ago and only has 2 members remaining has a working bathhouse.
Well, it's
Pretty,
anime. They have to have
pretty
some. They have to
cool.
have something.
My
mean-
last comment
Yeah.
was just that the music was not doing it for me. It could have been way more mysterious and way more fitting the environment, and it didn't feel that great. I will say the opening was pretty solid. It was a bunch
Yeah.
of fun.
It did spoil some things, but
Yeah, I don't think I heard the ED ever. I skipped it so quickly every time.
yeah, it's not that interesting.
My final
I-
comments are,
Yeah.
just like I said a second ago. Every time I watch a Western movie, I'm like, all these people do is smell bad. Like you're walking around in like Texas in leather, like and no like plumbing in most places. Like, ugh, you must just reek. You probably have bugs crawling on you. Like it's just disgusting. What they said that like, what was it? Was it Bob Marley who had like 30 types of lice in his living in his dreadlocks or something? I don't know. It's just gross. But
This
Yeah,
is your weekly reminder to take a shower.
just
by
fucking
the AAA
shower, people.
podcast.
Yeah. God, I had another like serious comment and I forgot what it was.
Damn.
Typical. Go ahead, Caroline.
Oh, I mean, the only thing I was really gonna say after what Mason said is like, yeah, the soundtrack was nothing special, but I did appreciate the stereotypical ninja song going in the background when Gabimaru was fighting, because I'm like, oh yeah, this is Naruto.
Believe it.
Believe
Yeah,
it.
I remember what I was gonna say. So like, to me, this is like, and I feel like they should just do like the Epic of Gilgamesh. I think it'd be a lot more interesting. Because like the whole plot line of that is the same, basically. Like we're going on this journey to find the eternal life. It's like, okay, we'll find the elixir or whatever. But I just feel like it would have been cooler to have Gilgamesh and not the skinny where do you keep your organs, puny little like 120-pound like blonde-haired Gilgamesh from Fate. Like the big ass buff carrying the 600-pound axe. I'll fucking destroy you if you even look at me the wrong way, Gilgamesh. Not to talk shit on Fate, but like, come on. It's a little underwhelming, but I don't know. This anime is just not what I wanted. I wanted a little, like, I can get violence anywhere. I mean, come on. I can go on like Retro Crush and watch Angel Cop if I want to watch someone get their eyeballs ripped out. Like, that's fine. I was hoping for a little, I just wanted more mystique, more unexpectedness, and something a little more original than what this anime ended up giving me, unfortunately. And I can just score it. Does anybody have any more comments?
I think let's knock this out.
Yeah, I mean, this anime's not terrible. I mean, but it really is just a bunch of action to me. Like, you can read into all the things in it, like, oh, the powers, why are they criminalized, it's just whatever. To me, it's just an action show, honestly, and not much else. It reminds me of some other shows. There's another show that we watched not long ago where they kept like basically cargo dropping people into the jungle to like retrieve shit. I can't remember what the fuck the anime was called, but it was terrible. But it just keeps reminding me of that. But to me, this anime is just kind of average. Honestly, it had the promise to be more than average, but in the end, all people really require and to have a good score online for an anime is just to have it be Mappa and have a lot of action in it, which is essentially what Chainsaw Man is. I mean, it's not kick around the bush. It's just, we're going to fight another demon this demon's the can opener demon. Like, oh, it's the fucking telephone demon. He'll choke you with his telephone cord. But today, this is the 21st century. Phones are cordless. Not in the demon world. They've got cords, and I'm going to choke you with them. It's just another one of those. Like, I don't know. So this anime gets 3 months you went without a shower out of 5. It's just average. I don't know. It's whatever.
Nice. Caroline, you want to go or you want me to?
You could go.
I'll go first. I don't have much to say. I had a ton of notes, but people already know what they think of this show. They don't need me calling out every little thing. Really, at the end of the show, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. I really think if anything, I'm going to return to the manga to finish the story. I thought it was a better experience from what I've read. And honestly, it's a fast read, and it's already done. That's great news. We're almost, a third of the way there. So manga's just, from what I've read, a much better experience. So I will maybe pick it up. We'll see. I was really going back and forth on my score on this one, but I think at the end of the day, it just doesn't have, like I said, that special secret sauce that really made it stand out despite all the potential it showed. I'm going to give it 2.5 Kishi Hikai transformations out of 5.
Yeah, I was going back and forth on my score a lot too, because I did think it was enjoyable, but there wasn't like a lot to it that I felt like deserved the higher score than I was thinking of. It is interesting to talk about. Like we had a lot of things to talk about here for our review, even if it was simple and not really all that amazing. There are characters to like. There are fight scenes to like. There is a bit of mystique to like, especially in the first few episodes. But it doesn't exactly, go full circle with it, which is kind of sad. I do have hope for a second season, and that might bring a little more to the table that we got in the first. And I would watch it. Like, I wouldn't complain watching it. And there is a big dumb fun quality that I think, sure, it's not, high art, but there is something to enjoy here, I think. So I'm going to give this 3 flowers popping out of your eyeballs out of 5.
Caroline wants it to go full circle. She wants more sex. You heard it here. You heard it here first, folks.
Oh, shit. Caroline wants more sex?
I don't make the rules.
No, that's not.
This never happened before.
That is not what I
Mappa,
would like.
put more sex in season 2.
I would like
Got
more
it.
mystery, and I would like more body horror. That's what I want.
There's a scene in Shigurui where a guy chops off a girl's nipples with a samurai sword. Is that body horror?
That is horrific. Yes.
So you get the body horror and the nipples. Is that?
I think I need something that's a little more fantastical than that, because if I were to see that, I would go, oh,
Well, here's
and
what you
like
do,
hold my
Caroline.
boobs.
You watch them
But-
cut the nipples to the Mission Impossible theme song. Once again, it solves everything.
But I can never imagine like having flowers pop out of my eyes, so that's intriguing, but
How about your
farther
butt?
removed than me. Why would you say that?
Well, you're more likely to grow flowers out of your butt than your eyes, probably. I mean, all that poop is fertilizer. I mean, it could grow a flower.
Thank you, Mitsuki, for that very important.
Well, think about it. If you have flowers growing out of your eyes, you
Oh
can't
my
see. It's gonna hurt, and your butthole's still
I
ugly.
get it, but it's further removed from reality that I can comfortably watch it, but still be intrigued.
If you grow a flower out of
Slicing
your
off
butt,
nipples is too realistic for me, so that is the difference.
if you had a flower growing out of your butt, what kind of flower would it be?
Why would you ask
Like a geranium?
that?
Like a geranium? Maybe a
I don't even know what that looks
Tulip.
like.
It'd be a rhododendron.
rhododendron, a rhododendron.
Yeah.
All right. Wow.
It could be a doo-doo lion.
There we go. That's content.
There we go.
Oh my goodness. Can we get a drop of that, please? Thank you very much. Got
All
him.
right. All right, guys. Well,
Okay.
that averages out to a 2.83, which we round pretty much. That's good. So it's a 3 pretty much, which is a decent score, honestly. Don't hate mail us. It's, whatever. It's not a bad score. It's just whatever. But, that it is what it is. And I will say I don't have much interest in watching season 2, so please don't listener choice pick it, although you will anyway.
Let's listen to Troy!
You have the right to pick whatever you want, but I'm just asking.
One thing I'll never get over is the fact that you banned Trigun Stampede Season 2 from being eligible for review just because
It's the
they
third
had
season.
the original Trigun. But the thing is that you guys never reviewed the original Trigun, and this is a full reboot.
Why would you want to watch Trigun Stampede Season 2?
I'm not saying that I absolutely am dying to watch it, but I think it's unfair to disqualify it just because. And no, but if you liked it, you would have not given it a second thought about it being eligible for a listener for a second season review. But just because you hate it and you don't want to watch it, that is like, but, technically it's a sequel, so we're not gonna.
Guys, technically, it's a season 2 because 1997 anime came out and I know the movie. All right, guys.
Doesn't make any sense.
Technically, guys. Technically, guys,
Stop!
this is not season 2 because there was it's a retelling and yeah. Okay, anyway. All right, guys. Thanks for
Okay.
tuning in. That's our show for today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to support the podcast, you can go to our social media first. You can go to AAA Podcast on Twitter. We're on Facebook. You can go to our Discord. Honestly, AAA Discord. If you can just go to that. I mean, honestly, there's so many people on Discord. I'm watching people bet money on our reviews on the Discord right now. I mean, it's just wild. There's just wild shit happening on the
Like
Discord.
crazy.
AAADiscord.com. It's a good time. Everybody on there is pretty friendly for a Discord that has almost 3,000 people on it. So, check that out. And we're on all the other socials as well, TikTok, Instagram. We're really trying to grow the Instagram crowd. So if you can get over to our Instagram, search for us on there, you'll find us. And of course, if you want to support the podcast, AAApodcast.com/join or Patreon, you'll get all the extra episodes. But if you can't do that, we get it. Life is expensive. If you can't support, you could at least write us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. That helps out
The
too.
least you can do.
Next week we have My Love Story with Yamada-kun at level 999, so we'll be reviewing
All
that.
right. Let's see if this rom-com can melt Mitsuki's stone cold heart.
Will my heart grow 3
Let's
sizes
see if this one
day?
will do it.
Well, I did like Tomo-chan, so
And this one has video game stuff in it, so you
I
might
do
like
love
that.
video games. So guys, hey, if you want to, we're gonna do an after party here after this. So if you want to stick around, that's fine. Otherwise, we'll talk to you next week. We love you. Thanks for listening live or on recording. Bye bye.
Bye.
Tell a friend, but take a shower first.
That's right.
See ya.